Imagine the worst gacha game that you can. Absolutely horrible character models, terrible story, absent content, the most bland experience you can have. Girls Frontline 2 is the exact opposite of that. I was admittedly a little concerned due to the reception of certain narrative choices within China, but we as global players are a very different target demographic with very different likes and dislikes. Thus, I went into this with no bias, no expectations whatsoever. And the result? Well, let's see. Hey, my name is Stix and welcome back to the worst gacha ever, a video series where I discuss a gacha and tell you guys what I thought in explicit detail as we attempt to find the worst gacha ever. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that little bell notification. That way you remain up to date with every single thing that I post, and I post every Sunday. Do not miss out. Now pull out your Dorito bag, a can of vanilla Coke, and let's get talking. Girls Frontline 2 is a strategy RPG combining elements of both genres together to create something ridiculously addicting and enjoyable. What you're supposed to be seeing is combat demonstrating tactical gameplay, but instead you're seeing Jeff, what are we looking at? Yes, I know what we're looking at, but why are we looking at it? Yes, I'm also aware most viewers right now are probably more interested in this than the combat itself. I don't care. Thank you. This is an absolutely stunning game with even more impressive graphics. The game utilizes what is arguably some of the highest quality textures with realistic character models very few gacha games can rival. Look at that. You can even see their toes, among other very bouncy weapons of mass destruction. Characters have fluid movements, animated expressive emotions in cutscenes, in combat, and even when lazing around their rooms. Yes, Girls Frontline 2 prides itself on its expansive dormitory feature, allowing for players like you to really connect with their dolls. But we'll touch on that later. You begin the game witnessing this absolutely incredible cinematic. We're introduced to a number of different characters, including the badass villain of the first several chapters. If my 5-foot IRL waifu has taught me anything, it is that you should be fearful of tiny waifus. They're little balls of pent-up rage and fury. I was thrown this awesome party because all the waifus are in love with me due to the sheer awesomeness that I exude. We're then thrown in a battle where we're introduced to a tutorial showcasing some of the combat mechanics. When preparing for combat, you'll select up to 4 different dolls to deploy, each character fulfilling a different purpose. Traditionally, you're gonna want to utilize a balanced team consisting of at least a tank, support, and 2 DPS, otherwise you'll find yourself quickly overwhelmed. Or you could attempt to just cheese through it like I did, but it's a lot of extra effort and you might not be as good at this game as I am. After deploying your units, you'll begin to battle, with the objective generally being to overcome the enemy force. The battlefield is grid-based, with different tiles providing cover from enemy fire or allied fire if the enemy make use of it effectively. Spoiler alert, neither allies nor enemies do. Instead, they would rather waste their turn climbing up a ladder just to climb back down the ladder the next turn. The negative IQ AI is probably my only real issue with this game. It is as bad as Blue Archives, where your heroes use heals before the fight even begins. Thankfully, you can manually control your units for stages that require a little more skill, more finesse. There are a surplus of different terrain features and mechanics that you'll come across as you progress further through the story. An example here is the cover system, reducing damage taken when taking cover, blocking line of sight, or neutralizing damage taken altogether from larger obstacles. Some stages have ladders that allow you to gain the advantage via high ground, escalators, moving walkways, portals. Making use of these, understanding how they function could mean the difference between victory and defeat, which further plays into the strategy aspect of the game. It truly was an absolute blast to play. There are a number of different game modes present for players to conquer, the most important being the campaign. The campaign has 2 difficulties per chapter, common and hard, with dozens of different missions to engage in, combat and story related. There are also supply missions and combat simulations. Supply missions allow for you to grind a variety of different resources: combat reports, analysis, blueprints, stock bars, attachments, Stardust Gold. These aid you in upgrading your characters, your weapons, and are an integral part of progression. Every mode has its own set of difficulties with its own associated monsters and are locked behind specific level requirements. Combat simulations consist of the neural survey, boss fights, combat exercises, assessments, expansion drills, and military simulations. These are all side content that are repeatable either daily or weekly, rewarding you for participating and clearing content. All of these game modes function similarly to the main campaign, however, have different maximum deployable dole limits. Speaking of, let's talk the doles themselves, and then jump into the dorm system, because that is where I know a lot of you guys are going to be spending the majority of your time. Not that I'm judging you, I do as well. Let's jump into the refitting room first. There is a lot to do here. You'll notice every dole has their own distinct class archetype: Bulwark, Vanguard, Support, and Sentinel. Building an ideal team based around correct class synergy is important until you see how some of the characters look, and then all of that just goes right out the window. Like, look at Mosin Nagant. My God, is she stunning. Or even Sabrina here. Not only is she one of the best looking characters in the game, but she also has what is arguably some of the best character interactions. Check this out. Hovering over her and clicking a certain part of her results in this animation. She eats the whole cookie, man. And she loves pizza. What a goddamn woman, my God. Navigating back to the refitting room, you'll see every dole has their own distinct weapon type, abilities, and stats. You'll level your doles up, increasing their combat performance. While leveling, you'll also get this sick animation that is specific to every dole, a small but welcome feature. You'll equip a number of different weapons: shotguns, rifles, submachine guns, even melee weapons of varying rarities, leveling them in much the same way you do your doles, albeit utilizing a separate resource. Thankfully, multiple doles have access to the same type of weapon, allowing for you to upgrade and then swap out weapons and doles as required. You'll calibrate them, essentially using duplicate copies to increase their power. You'll add attachments, providing a variety of beneficial effects, and interestingly enough, alter the entire weapon's appearance via weapon skins if you're so inclined. Honestly, a very deep system, but not one that's overly complex or convoluted, which I do appreciate. Oh, did I mention that some of the doles have alternate outfits? Yeah, that's sick. And knowing what's coming, whew, man. This is not all that you can do with doles though. Oh no, there is so much more via the dorm system. The dormitory system allows you to closely observe the doles that you've collected. Just don't be weird about it. I know that's gonna be a little difficult, I do, but come on. You think these characters are just lying around there scantily clad in provocative positions merely for your view and pleasure? Okay, well, maybe they are, but we need to treat them with the respect that they deserve. Any observations, any refitting of parts, necessary physical inspections are to be done only with the highest level of professionalism. Oops, didn't mean to let that slip out. Not that I normally do. There's a whole lot of Papa Stix to love after all. Evidently, this is my favorite feature in game, and will likely be yours as well. As you level up doles, you'll unlock a variety of different idle animations that showcase the doles in certain situations. Relaxing, sleeping, staring longingly into a fishbowl if you're Paratia. This is one of the most extensive dormitory systems that I've ever seen, and I may well have spent 45 minutes during stream in here playing with myself, playing with the doles. A sentence that I admittedly never thought that I'd verbally admit, but here we are. I think the area of the dorm that truly stands out the most is the ability to select any dole, any action, and apply it at any angle to your scenic tour dormitory, essentially the home screen, which you can see in the background right now. Which means you can take the most absurd shots from the most ridiculously degenerate angles and just, you know, glance over occasionally, wave to your waifu, whatever you guys do with your waifus in gacha games. Another way of customizing your doles is via the Affinity system. Not only can you raise the affinity levels of every dole individually, but doing so will increase their stats, making this an important aspect you won't want to neglect. Plus, I'll probably like you more. You know what they say? Happy waifu, happy laifu. If that isn't reason enough to gift your waifus things that'll brighten their day, it also unlocks additional storylines, which you'll use to learn more about them, and voice lines. After reaching a certain level, you'll be able to use a covenant ring to form a covenant with the dole. Yes, you can marry your dole waifus, with a physical object appearing on your dole's left hand after doing so. Finally, more games need to do this. I love being able to form advanced bonds like this with waifus. I also love when they unlock special wedding attire, provide unique lines you wouldn't otherwise have access to, kinda like Life from Snowbreak. I'm not sure to what extent this is available in Girls Frontline 2, but you best bet I'm gonna investigate when it fully launches. Interestingly, you also have a chance of receiving exclusive Dole-specific weapon skins and attachment skins, which is a nice bonus. The dispatch room allows you to dispatch Doles on missions with a variety of different rewards denoted towards the right of the pop-up window. When selecting which Doles to send on each mission, you'll see certain personality compatibility options. Meeting these will reward you with a much better outcome, so aligning these with Doles that correspond with the correct personality is an absolute must. Every Dole has their own assessment evaluation that they must complete before they're capable of accepting commissions, such as leveling to 15, receiving a gift, and clearing stages with the Dole in question. As the dispatch room levels up, you'll obtain additional resource output and enhance your Dole stats. The unique resources received within the dispatch room can also be used to pull for various rewards. P.S. I absolutely love how animated these characters are navigating to the public area or selecting an option. Shows you exactly how expressive every single character is. It feels like anywhere you go, people are just alive and thriving, doing their own thing. It is so refreshing. The story in this game is dark, it's messed up. The more you play through it, the more you'll realize just how absolutely screwed you are, your Doles are. This is not at all what I'd anticipated playing through when I began the game. I'd expected something much lighter. That's what the videos that I've seen led me to believe, with the happy characters dancing around eating cake. That was a lie. This is a story about death. It's depressing, hopeless, and I love it. I loved the dark setting in Path to Nowhere, and I'm always disappointed when gacha games are just too light and happy to really evoke a sense of distress in me. Now let's talk gacha, which is always the most important aspect of every gacha game. There is a beginner banner present. Every 10 pull has a 20% discount, guaranteeing you a max rarity unit within 50 pulls. After consuming the beginner banner, you'll have access to the standard banner, which guarantees you a max rarity unit every 80 pulls. I can't say how limited banners work in the global version because they weren't available during the beta test that I played. After 260 pulls, you can purchase any character you want though, so there is a pity at 80 pulls, and then a full hard pity at 260, kind of like in Nikke, if you're horrendously unlucky like I am. Girls Frontline 2 has so much to do, and it is propelled forward by its incredible story. I've enjoyed the beautiful environment, I have enjoyed the absolutely stunning character models, the cinematics. The production value for this game is absolutely through the roof. I can say with 100% certainty that I never expected this game to be as entertaining as it has been. Now let's break down my rating. Content, 6 out of 10. There's a surprisingly decent amount of content to consume with regular activities, and most importantly, the dormitory. I can get lost in there for hours. Actually, I think I'm in there right now. Difficulty, 4 out of 10. Honestly, both Mrs. Stix and I cleared all the available content we could during the beta without too much difficulty. I think there were a few locked levels, otherwise it wasn't really very difficult, unfortunately, but I'm sure that will change as more content is released. Free-to-play friendliness, 6 out of 10. Honestly, it isn't bad at all. The same as Wuthering Waves, more or less. Weapons and characters share the same banner with a soft pity at 80 and a hard pity at 260 if you fail to achieve the character you want. Gameplay, 8 out of 10. Animations felt fantastic, movement was fluid, abilities looked great, and the tactical aspect was a lot of fun. When playing manually, it requires a lot of forethought behind every action, and I like that. Graphics, 9 out of 10. Character models are easily in the top 5 best the gacha genre has to offer. Cinematics, cutscenes, everything about this game was stunning. Sound, 7 out of 10. Music was good overall, but during cutscenes and cinematics, it went absolute fire. Story, 8 out of 10. Honestly, this was so good, man. I cannot stress enough how good dark stories are. My only concern was that there was a little too much talking at times. We could have very easily have condensed this a little bit. Voice acting, 7 out of 10. It featured a fantastic Japanese dub. Like always, you really cannot criticize that. World, 6 out of 10. There was a lot of lore, a lot to interact with during battle, the deep history that spans multiple different games. I loved it. Fun, 9 out of 10. I love tactical games, and more than that, I love playing with myself. I love playing with my characters in their dorm. Everything about this game was fun for me. Overall, I'd give this 70 sexy Doles out of 100 really dumb AI decisions, or 7 out of 10. This was an incredibly fun game with a very high budget, and is something I will definitely be including in my regular rotation of games to play.
Hey you, where do you think you're going? Don't you close out of this tab. I didn't give you permission to do that. Sit your ass back down. Click one of the 2 videos that are gonna be on screen in just a moment and keep watching my content. Keep enjoying my content.